Hey honeys, it's your host and question mark of a person, Heather Donovan here, and welcome back to Life as a Question Mark. Since the last couple episodes were such difficult episodes, I thought that we would have a fun, relaxed episode this episode. So today we are going to talk about good TV that I watch because we don't watch crap TV around here, only good TV. So the idea of this topic came about when I told and showed my mom Pretty Little Liars, which I talked about the show in episode 8, talking about bullying. She called me a bitch. Jokingly, of course. I asked her why. I didn't really need to know why, but, I wanted to know why I was being called one at that point. Her response was because I get her hooked on all of these good TV shows. So that's what gave me the idea to do some volunteer work on this episode and share some good TV shows with all of you. So Pretty Little Liars is one of them. Big Brother is another one, which I've talked about in episode 5, talking about Zodiac Signs Part 2, and about the future of the podcast. And I said that I was going to recap and cover the season of Big Brother, but honestly, for the first time, I'm really not into it as I normally am. And this is really abnormal for me. And I think it's a mixture between the cast and production doing way too much with the theme. They could have just done the history of Big Brother since it's the anniversary, and this is like the anniversary of Big Brother. Like, they could have brought back more past competitions, and they could have brought back, like, the old twists, like the Coup d'etat, for example. I'm sure I slaughtered that, but whatever. And they just could have done a lot differently with it. But with all these planets and universes and all that stuff, they've just done way too much. We didn't really need all this nonsense things. As for the cast this year, when the cast first came up, the first thing that I picked up on is the cast is more diverse than it usually is, which I don't have a problem with at all. I think it's great. I am all for this. But however, my other first impression when saying this is that it has more to a feel in me that these are not the typical type of 16 people that you just shove into a house and call in a day. When I see this cast, I can't exactly put my finger on why, but there is a vibe or something that I don't like about this cast as a whole. Maybe it's an aura or something that I see that I don't know that I'm seeing. Who knows? But even, with first impressions and stuff, I'm like, alright, maybe I'm totally wrong, and I'll be blown away by this cast. Like, with me, either first impressions are, you're either totally right about this cast or you're totally wrong. And that's me. So I gave him a chance, I gave him a week or two, and I'm just not a fan of this cast. And like I say, I don't know if I'm seeing things differently. I've heard some hateful things going on around in that house. It's, I don't know, sorry production. Or not even production, it's casting grooters, I guess they're called. Whatever. I am so happy though that Hisam's out of that house. He physically reminds me of Enzo, which is cool. Except for Enzo doesn't make those dumb ass looking faces. But personality wise, he reminds me so much of Cody from Big Brother 19. I did. I liked where we were having this old school gameplay where the two sides of the house were playing against each other. Opposing just going with the whole house like we haven't seen for a few years now. Ever since Hisam's been gone, we've kind of gone back to this gameplay where we're all playing on the same side of the house. Maybe except we're targeting the same two people. I mean, I feel like that's overused. I mean, even the first week, I don't even remember who was on the block exactly, but I remember one person being really close to this other person, and somebody could have thrown a hinky vote from the other side and then just pinned it on the person's best friend that was on the block. I mean, you don't always have to vote the same side every single time of the house. If you can, you could always throw a hinky vote here and there, especially when you think it's safe, that's not going to get pointed towards you. But whatever, I've studied this game for years, so I kind of know what you can and can't do. Would I follow it if I was in the game? Probably, maybe, I don't know. I'd like to think I would, but we wouldn't know unless I was ever in the game, so, Riley's downfall of the game, and let me tell you, I thought she was really, really going to go far until her first week gameplay. Like, the first half of her first week of the gameplay was great, and then it just fell from there. Like, I don't know what it is with the HOH room. Some people, they feel too power hungry, and that's how she fell, and that's how Hisam fell. But we'll talk about Hisam in a minute. Riley's downfall is that she opened her goddamn mouth too much. A game like Big Brother, you don't have to tell the truth all the time. You can always bounce checks. Like when Hisam came up to her and said, "Are you targeting me?" She should have been like, "Oh no, Hisam, I'm not talking to you. I don't know who said that, but I am on your side." No, she just said, "I am targeting you." And that was her downfall. Hysam's downfall was that he was way too power hungry, like I said, and he wanted to take charge of everybody and tell them what to do and make other alliances. And he was just cocky in general, and I'm just glad he was gone. And Matt winning Power of Visibility is just awesome. I'm so glad that he won that, and it's so awesome. And I didn't even expect him, honestly, playing that competition. And like I said, I honestly haven't been too, usually I get involved in the voting and stuff, like who I would want to play in that kind of competition and stuff. But I'm just to the point where I just don't care about this cast this year. Like, they all could go home for all I care and just give, what's her name? Cirie all the money. Because she's the one playing the best game right now. Her, and I hate to say it, Felicia. Izzy? Yeah. But her and Felicia could just win first and second already. They're playing the best two, and I didn't think Felicia was going to be good. I thought she was just going to be a deadbeat, and she was going to be up in the block every week, which she still might, but she might get a high up there, just on her own. So, I didn't think America would consider them in the top, whatever it was, 4. And I think it was just because I don't care and I just didn't know, who I would pick in the first place. So, usually I could guesstimate who people would pick that way. But anyway, so I'm glad he got that. It makes me super proud. And I looked up who got the next HOH. And, let me just say that I think they're going to be playing somebody else's game, not their own. So, it's not even going to really be their HOH, but whatever, that's just me in my opinion. We'll have to see how it goes. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Who the hell knows at this point? So I also like 2 other shows that are both like the sisterhood of Big Brother, and they are Survivor and The Amazing Race. Survivor is a group of castaways inhabit an island where they are forced to compete against each other in a series of challenges. They must survive in order to win the $1 million prize. And the social game is just like Big Brother. They have to make their own shelter. They have to find their own food. It's not something I would sign up for, but, anybody else could do what they gotta do. The Amazing Race is where 11 teams of 2 people each race around the world for $1 million prize. And they do all these cool challenges and tasks like bungee jump off high mountains and all this stuff. Just really cool. I would have participated in it. I would even apply if I had another person to compete with, but, I don't, so whatever. Another show that reminds me of the social games that are similar to Big Brother and Survivor is the Challenge series. The Challenge is where Illuminati from other TV shows such as The Real World, Road Rules, Big Brother and Survivor compete in the most physically intense competition or challenges, as they call them, for grand prize money. And it could be different each year, like $500,000, $2,500,000, all different kind of prize money. So season 2 of the Challenge USA is out right now, and I gotta be honest, I don't like how they put the vets in this one. I feel like it should have been just, I get why Josh and Paul and Michelle and Michaela are playing, they all played Survivor Big Brother, but I don't like how they brought people like Tori, Banana, Wes, John A. And I just don't like how they did that, because I feel like it should have been all the CBS shows. It should have been Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race. I wish they would have brought more Amazing Race people in, actually, instead of just the 1 or 2. But, because I feel like they just gained up on them, no reason to. They gave them another reason. What made the season so interesting, too, is that the house, finally figured out how to turn on the vets for a little while. Instead of, picking all the recruits off one by one, they just started going after the vets. Figuring out, we had the numbers, but then all of a sudden, they just started turning on each other, Survivor versus Big Brother. And, oh my god, how about that Alyssa Lopez going home? That one friggin' ball going in the hopper. Holy crap. I would have been so mad if I was her. And it was all from that hat trick, which was brilliant. Brilliant on the vets' part, plus Josh and Fessy. I think they're the ones who are in the vets' lines, too. These next 2 shows I'm going to talk about next are also in the reality TV realm, but not in the competition realm, if that makes sense. So the first one is Jersey Shore. And just Jersey Shore, the original one, not the family one, because I just haven't seen any seasons of them yet. I prefer to watch, because the only way I can watch them is either live TV or Xfinity. I can't watch any of them for free, any past seasons. I'm not going to watch them, of course, because poor here. And if all the seasons aren't available on Hulu, I ain't going to watch it right away. Jersey Shore, this is a description of it from Google. It's a lot of hair gel, suntan lotion, and skimpy clothing for the young adults featured as reality series. After a first season spent in the beach town of Seaside High, New Jersey, the party moved to Miami Beach for season 2 before friendships and flames rekindled back at the original Jersey Shore house. I'm not even going to go into the rest of it. Basically, it's where they party and they have to work at, one of them's a t-shirt place for a place to live as their rent and all this stuff. So, I just mostly watch it for the drama. And the BS seems so unreal as just funny. And I think I'm also drawn to the show because I live and have always lived in this bubble where I have never really experienced this world or any other world outside of my habitat. So all this stuff is very foreign to me and just fascinating to me. This next show is very popular, and I guess it's coming back around. I never watched it the first time around, so I couldn't tell you. And it's Dance Moms. Now, I'm going to read the description of Dance Moms off Google. Abby Lee Miller runs Abby Lee dance company in Pittsburgh, where she started when she was 14. Bullshit. I think Christy and Kelly in their podcast actually had an argument against this and about points and all that stuff in their podcast. You have to go, well, I'll advertise that in a minute. Miller is notoriously demanding and passionate instructor. Nope. But she has competition in the area and of being demanding. From her students' mothers, as featured in the docuseries, the series highlights the highs and lows competitive dance season as the dancers pursue the ultimate national dance title. Miller instructs her students while dealing with the over-the-top mothers who go to great lengths to help their children's dreams, or are they really their mother's dreams, come true. The show captures the dynamic interplay between parent, teacher, and student as Miller tries to bring out the best of her students. Blech. A lot of that made me want to gag, because not a fan of Abby Lee Miller here. And I think it's because, I see her true colors. I mean, even when I basically started the series, episode 1, just diving into it without knowing anything, I felt this aura about her. And I don't know. So, the thing that I like about this show is because of the good times and the dances. I am also drawn to the show just because of the shit that happens that doesn't seem real at all. But other than that, the show just kind of sparked some trauma back to me, due to my own history outside and inside of dance, like the bullying and stuff, and then what happened to me in my dance experience. And I just relate to these poor girls because of it, and yeah. Actually, Christy and Kelly has a podcast, in case you guys don't know, called Back to the Bar, where they talk about a lot of the behind the scenes behind the show and how production got involved with a lot of things and all that stuff. So you should definitely go check it out if you are a fan of Dance Moms. It is a great podcast, and I highly recommend it. I would love to have the opportunity to have Christy, Chloe, Kelly, Brooke, and Paige to come on the podcast and hang out. We would talk a little bit about Dance Moms too, their comfortability, and then we could talk about life and all that good shit, because we don't have to talk a lot about Dance Moms. Especially I don't want to bring up old trauma wounds, because I understand how that feels. I mean, you can go back and listen to my episode that I just did about my bullying experience. I mean, yeah. So I totally get it. Christy, Chloe, and I can also talk about psychic mania stuff because I hear that they're really into that type of thing as well. I actually have some stories that I could tell them that has really happened to me, and this is dead true stuff. Maybe someday. The other 3, I would just have to figure out what to talk about with them, but I can just talk about anything in general, so it's fine. However, in order to get big heavy hitters like this to come on the pod and hang out with us, this podcast needs your support. I will remind you how you can do so and show your love and support to the pod at the end of this episode. Back to dance season is almost here, and every ballerina needs the proper equipment. If you don't have your equipment yet, then don't worry. I've got you covered with BalletSets.com. Ballet Sets has an awesome array of gorgeous items, such as leotards, tops, pants, skirts, shorts, and most importantly, shoes. Dance can be so dang expensive, but don't you worry, because they gave me a very special discount code to share with all of you. If you use the discount code Heather80 at checkout, then you will receive 80% off your entire order. That's right, 80% off your entire order. What a bargain, right? Make sure you are using the discount code Heather80 at checkout on BalletSets.com. Make sure you and your loved ones are all stacked and ready for this year's dance season. Let's talk about some good TV shows that are in the comedy category. First, we have The Office. The Office is a U.S. adaptation set at a paper company in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Has a similar documentary type to that of the style of Ricky Gervais' British original. I'm sure I screwed that up. Whatever. It features the staff of Dunder Mifflin, a staff that includes characters based on characters from the British show, and quite possibly people you work with in your office. The Office is a classic that has been a foundation for some other shows that I will be mentioning as well. And it has that show where they take the people aside and they interview them, and it's just so great. If you haven't seen it and you don't know about it, what are you really doing with your life? Just go watch it. It's a classic. I mean, I don't understand you if you haven't seen it. There is another podcast that I recommend called The Office Ladies with Jenna Fisher and Angela Kingsley, who recap and talk about the behind the scenes in each episode. I also recommend that you give that podcast a listen as well if you are fans of The Office. And look at me go, recommending all these other podcasts, you guys. I am in support of other podcasts, especially ones that are female owned and run and all that stuff. Love it. The next show is Superstore, which is an oddball family of employees at a supersized megastore. Cloud9 tackles the day-to-day grind of rabid bargain hunters, riot-causing sales, and nap-worthy training sessions. So basically, it's about all these employees that work together at this big, huge store. And yeah, it's great. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is where Detective Jake Peralta, a talented and carefree cop with the best arrest record, has never had to follow the rules too closely or work very hard. That changes when Ray Holt, a man with a lot to prove, becomes a new commanding officer of Brooklyn's Nine-Nine precinct. Abbott Elementary. Abbott Elementary is a group of dedicated, passionate teachers and a slightly tone-deaf principal find themselves thrown together in a Philadelphia public school where, despite the odds stacked against them, they are determined to help their students succeed in life. Though these incredible public servants may be outnumbered and underfunded, they love what they do, even if they don't love the school district's less than stellar attitude toward educating children. The Big Bang Theory. So Big Bang Theory is basically revolves around this group of nerds, of 4 individual nerds in the whole entire group. That 70s show, set in the mood, ring, and polyester era of the 1970s, the program is a retro situation comedy about an electric group of friends on the verge of adulthood. The group live in suburbs of Wisconsin, where they yearn for independence amid the growing pains of becoming adults. In these next 2 shows, I have only seen scattered episodes for both, but both are really great and are on my list to watch the full series of. The first one is Park and Recreations, and that is basically where this one woman is hopes to beautify her town, and basically all these people work in this community park and all that stuff. And the second one is Schitt's Creek. A wealthy couple finds themselves completely broke with only one remaining asset, a small town called Schitt's Creek, which they bought years earlier as a joke. This once wealthy couple has to give up life as they know it with their 2 spoiled children and their pampered lives behind them, and they're forced to face their newfoundly poverty head on and come together as a family to survive. Now we have some animated comedies in here too, such as Bob's Burgers, which is Bob Belcher is a 3rd-generation restaurateur who runs Bob's Burgers with his loving wife and 3 children. Bob believes that his burgers speak for himself and isn't afraid to offer a variety of offbeat creations. Bob's life went So basically it's about this family running a burger joint and them doing all this chaotic stuff. American Dad, which is about Stan Smith is a CIA agent painfully dedicated to Homeland Security. His home life indicates student life Francine, a ditzy housewife, a liberal daughter, Haley, and socially awkward teenage son Steve. So basically they live together, they do all this chaotic stuff, all that stuff. And that's the show I usually fall asleep to. And if I don't fall asleep to that show, I usually fall asleep to this next show, which is Archer. Archer is an American adult anime sitcom created by Yeah. So basically Archer is about this agency where they bring people in, they think it's all government funded. And a couple seasons later they find out that the character's mom, Mallory, didn't pay for it or make it legal or whatever it was. And my opinions on this is the first few seasons before the agency gets raided and shut down are great. And after that, it started going downhill. But then it makes a comeback as soon as Archer wakes up from that coma of his. Also, it makes me sad that the voice of Mallory Archer just died while they were doing the voice of last season. Which I don't think is this current season that they have on right now. But past ones, it's just sad. But they wrote her off in a good way, I guess. It reminds me of when the voice of Chef died. South Park is another goodie, speaking of that. So South Park is basically where these 4 boys, live in this small town and they create all this kind of chaos and do all this chaotic shit together. Older episodes of seasons of the show are a lot funnier and brighter than the current ones are. So let's talk about some good TV shows that are in the drama category. The first 2 that I'm going to talk about are the shows that I've gotten my mom really hooked on. The first one is Big Sky. So Big Sky is pretty much about these 2 women and a detective that you see that goes in and solves crimes and all these stuff. I don't think there's going to be a season 3. I haven't heard of there being one. But the first season was really, really good. And part of the second one, too. I just wish that they would have kept going with, like, the sex trafficking thing. If they went back to doing that storyline, I think that they could have it run for a couple more seasons. But since, like, they dropped that storyline out of nowhere, I don't think they're coming back unless they go back to it. Because that's the one that really caught a lot of people on. This next one I'm going to talk about is called The Handmaid's Tale, which, if you do not know what this show is, I am extremely disappointed in you, because this is what our world is heading into. So The Handmaid's Tale is basically about, like, this regime that comes out of the ashes out of nowhere, basically, and it's, like, religious. And basically, it, like, falls into a male-dominated world where women are mostly used to, like, so there's these select women. Well, women don't have any control at all, and women are basically good for only raising kids and just having babies. And those who have babies are, well, I'm just going to say it, they were pretty much raped, and they get passed around from family to family. Or they're Marthas, which they cook and clean for the richer families. And then the wives are pretty much, they don't have any power at all, they just sit there all day and do nothing. Well, raise children and knit and that kind of thing. Pretty much the thing that's not cleaning or cooking. But it's gotten pretty good, but I think that they're getting ready to close it off. The writers of Handmaid's Tale, or I don't even know what it is. What word exactly? The producers, I guess it is. Producers, writers, whatever. Bought the rights to Margaret Atwood's other book. Because she wrote the Handmaid's Tale book. That's what is based off the book, the series. But they also bought the book, The Testaments, from her, which is the second part of The Handmaid's Tale. And I think they're just going to go off of that. I mean, honestly, I think The Handmaid's Tale has gone on. It's being dragged on a little too much now, so I can understand them trying to get that one out. I encourage you all to watch it if you haven't watched it. It's hard to watch, I'm not gonna lie. If you have ever been sexually abused or anything like that, I suggest you either watch with ease or you don't watch it if it's going to be way too triggering. But this is what the world's coming to, unfortunately. Especially taking away our female rights and everything. So the next one is The Secret Life of the American Teenager. And this series is basically about, like, this girl getting pregnant as a teenager and her having to face all these difficult choices and challenges. And another one gets pregnant too, but she loses it. A good show also as well. Next is Scandal. Scandal is basically like, I don't even know what you call it. Basically an agency or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically there's agency and they run behind the scenes of the government doing all the government work and stuff, doing all this research and stuff. And the woman who's ahead of it is having the secret affair with the president, and it's great. Then next is How to Get Away with Murder. How to Get Away with Murder. Oh, I love this show too. This is another great one. This one is basically where a teacher and a select 5 of her students basically all get caught up in murders, and they try to cover it up for a long time, and all this stuff keeps building behind the scenes, and it's a good show, and it ended too, like a couple of years ago, I think, during COVID season or something. I don't really know, but the ending, they couldn't have ended it a better way. I never saw the ending coming. My gosh. So good. Recommend it. Right now, go watch it. Alright, this next one, Grey's Anatomy. Basically where these group of doctors work at a hospital. And honestly, the show should have ended a long time ago. Basically, I think about when Callie left. The show really declined, somewhere around there. And you know, the show that could really take over for it is Station 19. And that is a group of firefighters in a firehouse. Basically same setting. They can still have the hospital people in there, because they show like Miranda and Meredith and Maggie Pierce and all these people in that show anyway. So Station 19 could basically be picked up and have all the Grey's Anatomy people in it time to time. This next show, in my opinion, is a lot better than Grey's Anatomy, and it's been over for quite a while. It's Private Practice. It has the character Allison Montgomery and Amelia Shepherd in it. And you can learn a lot of behind the scenes of those two characters by watching it. Like, you can find the cause of stuff, like what happened with Amelia's drug addiction and how her baby died and all that stuff. So I recommend you watch it. Gets you more in depth. And basically, like, the show is where Allison goes to this private practice and works for him. There's a group of doctors there, too. And the final shows that I'm going to talk about is Shark Tank, Family Feud, and America Says. Shark Tank is basically about all these business investors that all sit together in a room, and then like a person presents their idea or business, and all these investors fight for this to invest and get this deal and all that stuff. Also great. You learn about all the great stuff they're selling. Family Feud. basically where all these families fight against each other for a game show, and they could win like a car if they go to the final so many times, and it's good too. That Steve Harvey man, so funny. Oh my gosh. America Says is basically where like they take a survey from a certain amount of people all over America, and this family or group of people, whoever goes on, have to guess like what the word is that's in the survey. And also good. So yeah, these are some very good TV shows that I very highly recommend that you check out. Even if I didn't describe them properly or any of that stuff, I apologize. I tried my best. Google wasn't great, so I decided to go off my own. So, remember when I said that this podcast needs your help and support? You can, for starters, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It helps other listeners to find the podcast. Also, the word of mouth is very powerful, so tell that favorite stranger of yours about the podcast. If they don't know how to find or listen to this pod, then do that good duty of the day and help them find it. And then they could tell their favorite strangers, show them, and so on and so forth. Keep it going. You can also follow and converse with the pod and other listeners of the pod by following the podcast Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Life is a Question Mark. I love hearing from you all, especially on all of your feedback. I like to know what works, what doesn't work, what you think is funny, what you think is not. All the stuff. I love hearing it all. You can also follow myself on my personal TikTok and Instagram at Misty's World 2022. The link tree to everything is in all of the social media bios. You can also find the podcast website in the link tree as well. The final way that you can show the pod some love and support is that you can make any size donation towards the pod. You can donate by clicking the support link in the show notes and each and every episode by going to the podcast website and subscribing to the website, or by clicking the payment button in the link tree. All donations goes towards the podcast and podcast use. For example, it could go towards the subscription that I pay to edit the podcast, or towards the subscription that I pay to get the podcast website through. It could also go towards traveling fees for when I go to interview guests for the pod. Which, by the way, if you would like to be a guest on the pod, please contact me through either the podcast pages or my own. I will come to you, and if you are away from me, which most people are, it's fine, I'm in dead nowhere, then I need at least 2 weeks to request time off of work, because, poor here, I had to work. And I could come around, and especially during the holidays, my family and I don't really celebrate them anyway, so it's fine. If you make a donation towards the podcast, then I will give you a shout out during the pod. Or if you don't want a shout out, I could deliver messages for you, such as asking someone to prom or asking someone to marry you. Or I could just tell one to pick up their goddamn laundry off the floor. Please make the donation through family and friends though. This concludes this week's episode. Remember to keep doing better, and I will talk to you all next week.